God, it's your way, right? I accept your way. But in reality, I wasn't accepting Yahweh. I was accepting my way.
Hey guys, welcome to season 2 of All Things with Chanae Lavette. And as you can see, I look like her, but I am not your girl, Chanae Lavette. I have the illustrious honor to interview my beloved sister and your friend, Chanae Lavette.
Hello.
Hey girl.
Hey girl, hey.
I've been dying to get in this chair and interview you, so I'm so excited to be here. How does it feel to be on that side of the couch?
It feels really good. Actually, because I'm such a control freak, I thought that it was gonna give me anxiety sitting here.
So let me help them understand the levels of control. It was like, so I'm gonna sit over there and introduce the show, and then I'm gonna run over there to the other side, and then I'm gonna come back and then do it. So no, we're not in control today.
Yeah.
Today, I am excited to be able to just dive deep into things that most people just really wouldn't know to ask because they don't know you like that. And it's just some benefits and perks that you get with watching such an amazing person grow into fruition and into adulthood. So are you ready?
I'm ready. I'm looking
I've
forward
been
to
asking
it.
you all week, like, what's off limits? What can we not talk about? What can we talk about? And you said, give it to me. Just, it's whatever. So I appreciate you relinquishing some control.
I know. I guess it's a theme for this year for me. It's hard. It's not easy to do, but I trust you, so.
Okay, well, don't trust me too much. I want to get down to the nitty-gritty, okay? So don't give me that much credit.
Right.
So even as I sit here right now, it's really hard whenever I look at you to not see the little girl Chanae.
I know.
And I know it annoys y'all, but it's just really hard to not see it because the innocence in the eyes, the purity in the eyes, and as long as I can remember, even when I shouldn't have been thinking about having kids, I would always say, when I have kids, I want my daughter to be just like you, right? I feel slightly responsible for placing this extra pressure of perfection on you because I've said that since forever.
You're the perfect little girl. You're the perfect little girl.
Right. So let's go back to that, Chanae, right? What are some of your earliest memories of who she was?
I don't know why already I feel like my eyes are welling up because childhood for me was filled with obviously really good memories, but a lot of times that were just really dark. And so when I think of little girl Chanae sometimes, and maybe why I'm resistant to when folks are like, oh, I remember you then, I don't think I was so happy then, or at least not all the time. And so sometimes I think in life we can do ourselves a disservice by just pinpointing these negative experiences, and then that's sometimes all we think about. And I'm still struggling with not thinking of little girl Chanae in a negative way. But for me, it feels like I don't know, I think the enemy always knew that there was a calling over my life and that God had something very special for me and was going to use me and particularly use my voice. And I feel like I was silenced for a long period of time. And he did that through insecurities, through body image things, through severe nightmares. Like I recall being a little girl, and you know this because you were there, and I would have these just night terrors. Like I think I just really, they were so real to me, and they were so devastating, and it just caused so much fear and anxiety. And so what was happening to me in the evenings then translated, I think, throughout the day, where I was always this jumpy person. Right? Absolutely. But yet still this sweetheart of like, I have this light in me, and I think that's the light that you saw, and obviously so many other people saw, but I'm speaking from the perspective of what was going through my head, not necessarily what people was seeing me as.
I think that a lot of people hear you say things like, I'm one of 10 children, but it's really hard to really capture the essence of that type of household, right?
Yeah.
You know, and where do you fall in line? So there's 10 children, where do you fall in that? Because I think placement tells a completely different story outside of I'm one of 10.
Yeah.
What number are you?
Number 8.
Number 8.
So more on the younger bunch of the group.
So 7 above you, 2 below you. What did that feel like, or what expectation do you feel your role came with? You know, being soft-spoken, kind of quiet. Where did you find your place in such a huge population?
I think I've said this to Mama. I was like, you know, I feel like we all kind of was fighting for attention in some way, shape, or form. And what I felt like I lacked growing up was a talent or something to get noticed by, right? You could sing. William could play sports. Tutu was the baby girl, so that in and of itself gave her a lot of limelight, I would say, and because her big personality, right? So Shin played sports, Renee plays. Everybody had like their thing, and then some of us who didn't really have a thing, maybe they just act out a little bit, so they got attention through acting out. So I think we all had something, and it's hard for me with all I have going on, and to still be a mom and to, give my attention to all these different things. So I can't imagine what it must have felt like for Mama and Daddy to have to spread their attention to so many little people. Yeah. But I realized that my attention came when I would make good grades.
And that's what I want to capture, because I specifically remember a few things throughout your childhood that I now would recognize as turning moments or defining moments, and I don't know if they actually are for you, because I'm really good at just making up things in my head for other people. But I remember exactly where I was at and exactly where you were standing when there was this chatter about you getting a B on your report card. And I was just thinking in my head, I wasn't as much as I've done, I wasn't a straight A student. I was at best a B, maybe sometimes a C here and there, and it just was no pressure for me because I knew that I could excel. But it was like, I got a B, I got a C. Okay, cool. You were having the biggest fit about getting a B.
Yeah.
And was that your first experience of, had you already assumed the identity of I want to be great at this grades thing, and that was the first time you fell short? And what was that experience like? Was it as impactful on your life as I thought it was?
Well, I think it probably was the first outward manifestation of what suffering from perfectionism looks like. And so as this little girl, elementary, I was had to be in like the 5th or 6th grade at that time, and I got straight A's with that 1 B. And instead of looking at it from this lens of like, wow, you did well, you still made the honor roll. No, it wasn't good enough because it wasn't perfect. And I think maybe my strive, or this like me seeking perfectionism all the time, which stemmed from initially, I'm realizing that if I get good grades, I get attention. And so it created this, I think, obsession with this is how I'm able to get my spotlight or get my little shine. And instead of maybe being comfortable with just self, right? I think that was the early form of me attributing like worth, value.
Or validation.
Yeah, validation. Hey, look, I know we was getting to the good part, but I just need you to pause just for 1 second and do me a really quick favor. Go ahead and subscribe to this channel and like this thing for your girl too. But I'm really not here for that. I am here to share with you some exciting news. I have just published my first children's book entitled, Where is Skip Pa? A Young Heart's Journey to Finding Hope After Loss. I wrote this book from my heart. I wrote this book from my pain, and I wrote it from my grief. It's inspired through the loss of my father, but my pain I was able to turn into purpose and provided this children's book to not only help you in your grieving process, but to help you guide your little one as well. And so Where Skip Pa, A Young Heart's Journey to Hope After Loss is available July 29th on Amazon. And I hope that this book blesses you the way it's blessed our family too. Now, back to the show.
Do little girl Chanae still show up in your life now? And all of our little girls do to some extent, but in that same capacity. Like,
yes, I can answer that honestly.
Right.
Yes. And it's something that I struggle with. Instagram, I'll use that, social media in general, as an example. And I think it is something that could be great, powerful tool, but dangerous if you have not yet found a grounding in yourself and like a certainty in yourself, because then when you see the likes, when you see the comments and all those things, it starts to validate you. It starts to make you feel seen. You start to realize, if I put out this content, then I get this attention. If I put out that content, then that resonates differently. So I think that being a recovering, I don't know what's the word, perfectionist or recovering like person who sought that like validation, that assurance that you're doing a good job, that it can be dangerous if you don't be certain in who you are in and of itself and apart from that.
Yeah, because a lot of people look at vices that people have. Some people, they get, certain types of calm and reassurance from things that are deemed negative, whether it's a drink or whether they go and roll up or whether they do that. But I think one of the unspoken and hidden, just as present of a danger, is like that inward battle that a lot of people have inwardly.
I agree.
And people look at you and they'll go, oh, well, you have it all, right? You have, you're beautiful. You have everything you touch turns to gold, and I know sometimes it could feel like a blessing, and then sometimes it feels like how dare I say, a curse a little bit, because I don't know that people really understand, because you make it look so effortless, the weight that you carry to get across the finish line, because you just make it look easy. And so you're chasing this validation that people feel like, why do you need that, So what would you say to the younger Chanae earlier that you feel would have made her understand that it's never enough? 1,000, 100 million likes is never enough. It's never going to scratch that itch. And what would you want her to know even that early?
As simple as, you are enough. I tell myself that all the time. Especially when I'm dealing with anything related to like those years of kind of being mean to myself, or breaking myself down as far as how I look. I spent a lot of time doing that. So in my adulthood, and now having, lost weight or accomplished these things and these successes, I've now found myself where even in doing that, I'm still thinking the same way as I was before. And so I have to be reminded that you're enough, and God, and there's nothing I can do that would make God love me more than nothing. Like, there's nothing I can do that can make me more perfect than in His eyes. And I think that is probably what I wish I would have known at a younger age, is that you're enough. You don't have to try and do all these things to prove something or to gain this attention from what started off maybe as more of a parental relationship, or one in this, like, you got all these people that you're fighting to be seen. Like, God already saw me before I saw me. And I think if I just recognized that before, then, well, no, let me not say that. I'm glad I didn't recognize it before, because if I didn't, I wouldn't be where I am now, and I wouldn't be able to share the messaging that I share now, because you got to go through things in order to even be able to have a testimony.
To minister to that part of people,
right?
It breaks chains. And that kind of helps me transition a little into another space that I wanted to touch on with you, because a lot of people know you for a specific thing. You know, I feel like I've lived 9 lives. I feel like you lived 9 lives in a short period of time. And there's so much I can touch on. I wish we had like a 2-3-part series, because there's so many sides of you that I feel people don't have the opportunity to know. So whenever you have to wear one hat, it's really, really hard, because I'm not just that. So for example, with your social media platform, you know, you tend to get the likes and the huge response from your weight loss journey, which I would be remiss if we didn't touch on that. I just think that it's a physical manifestation of your life's work. You know, it's identifying that this is a problem, doing something about it, realizing the superpower that you have, which in my opinion is your mentality, your discipline, it's unmatched, you know. And being able to create what I call magic, you know, like I thought it, I did it, and I have something to show for it, and people want to follow it. So when you have to stand on the stage of being just a person that lost the weight, do you find that you have to try to dim your light a little bit to just fit into that mold, because that's what they like to hear and see, even though you have so much more to offer? How do you manage that?
I think I resist it. And I resist it so much, and that's part of why I even named the show All Things Too, is because I really am doing all the things, and I'm not going to be isolated and pigeonholed to one particular thing. I'm a lawyer, yes, I enjoy that, but I'm also a creative. And I'm also a fitness person. Like and the algorithm, oftentimes people will tell you, oh, you gotta pick one thing and stick to it and just keep posting that same type of stuff. And that's how your page will blow up. By all means, to some standards, I don't have some huge following or community or something, but what I have, I don't have a huge following, but what I have is community. And I've created a community because people don't just see me as one thing. They know that at the end of the day, I like everybody else, we all wear multiple hats. Like and it's not just, exclusive to me. I think there are some things that God has gifted me, and I would say my capacity to handle more than one thing at one time. That I will say, I believe is like a true gift. But even looking at you do a lot of things, right? You have several businesses. That's not something that's unique to Chanae per se, but I do think that it's relatable to the mom who watches and is like, I might not be the lawyer and all these other things, but I'm handling all these, I'm juggling all these kids in one day. So it's relatable, if that makes sense.
Even with me, and it takes me back to 2 memories. One, when you're getting ready to go to prom and your wedding, and you're like, you're not gonna ruin these moments for me, okay?
Let's talk about it.
Let's talk about it.
I still got beef with you about prom, okay?
I know. It was my way of trying to protect you. I feel like sometimes as you become this successful woman, as a big sister, I struggle sometimes with wanting to share things with you that I've learned the hard way, because I see so many different parts of my experiences in your journey, even though our paths are taking very different ways. And particularly when it comes down to doing all the things, right? I had a moment in my life where I'm like, I'm content. I remember telling my dad, I think I'm content. And I don't know if I'm broken or something's wrong with me, but this idea of, this, that, I feel like I don't have that as much. And I don't know if I'm tapping out of the race or what, but I don't know that I don't like it either, Yeah. So my question to you is, like you and like a lot of women that I know that are very, very successful, who suffers the most when you are doing all the things? Because there's someone suffers as a result of it. And in my case, because I'm not a mom and I wasn't a wife at the time, and I was a friend, but maybe I wasn't the best friend. Maybe I wasn't the best of other things. I suffered, I was suffering. I didn't make the time or give myself the attention or the rest or certain things that I needed. And even with you, because so many people pull from you for so many different things, who do you think kind of suffers the most when you're doing all the things?
I can't say that there's someone that suffers the most. I think that I would not be honest if I said that I believed in this idea that this perfect balanced life.
Yeah.
I really strive for balance for so long, and I think it was probably in law school where someone was like, I don't believe in balance. Like it's not a thing. And I realized from that moment forth, as resistant as I was to that idea, because I had this like, no, there's got to be a way. There's got to be a way for me to have all these things and accomplish them all. Like, no, resistant to it, because I'm very determined and ambitious, so I'm gonna prove you wrong. Now, I think I accept harmony in my life. I accept that, no, it's not this perfect, even, scaled balance, but on some days, there's work that's getting a lot of my attention. Other days, it's Chanae Lavette brand. Some days after that, I gotta put everything down because I'm figuring out Aubrey or Michael and how does it, navigating life. Because you know what kind of child you're gonna get with. Have rather. You don't know what kind of child you're gonna have. And when we had Aubrey, did I think that I'd be dealing with some type of speech delay or something? No. So there's been moments where I cannot post as actively because I'm in therapies with him. So I think I can't say that things suffer. Do they get the same amount of attention in all seasons? No. But somehow, some way, they still harmonize with one another. I know some people feel like they don't have to be all of the things and do all the things, and that's true.
Yeah.
They don't. I think for me, where I'm at in my life right now, is that if I were not, I would suffer.
You would suffer. That's big.
That's probably what I've realized more than anything, is that I'm not doing this to prove anything to anybody as much as it is like, if I don't do this, I will be in a deep, dark depression, because I believe this is my anointing.
Your calling and what you've been called to do.
Like ambidextrous anointing is what I believe God has given me. Like, you gonna be able to do more than one thing at one time, and it's okay for you. And so I'm not trying to paint no picture to anybody that, yes, God called me to do these things and you can do it. If you that girl, then take this advice on. But if you know, like, no, that's not.
When you say if you're that girl, you don't mean in the sense of, because I think where you place inflection, not if you're that girl. Like, if you're that girl that God has called as well, then by all means, And you touched on something briefly about dealing with, speech delay and things like that. And I know there's some things that affect people more than others, and moms particularly when it comes down to their children. That's something that is, that's a maternal instinct, and even rolling back into you becoming a mother at first, right? I just want to touch on it very briefly, because you like controlled environments, like you like to be in control of certain things.
Don't we know?
And that's a specific experience where you are not in control. So what areas do you feel, being a mom to such an amazing little boy, Aubrey, what's the biggest impact being his mom has had on you?
Aubrey has taught me patience. Like, he really has, because I've had to be patient in his growth and his development. While I was expecting full-blown sentences at age 2 or whatnot, and maybe that's not realistic for any 2-year-old, I think he just made me realize that it's at his pace and God's timing. And my job is to use the resources and tools to navigate him through this life. And even when I started to notice that, well, maybe there is some type of, maybe I should get him evaluated. Maybe, I started to question things myself. I remember even family members like, that boy got out of it, or that's just normal. And maybe it is the truth. But in my mind, I just thought, I think it's irresponsible of me to have resources and tools around me and not use those things to assist him and get him whatever support he may need. And it's ironic that on the day that Daddy transitioned, I actually had an appointment to go get Aubrey evaluated through the public school system. And it took me a long time to even get this appointment. And I thought to myself, like, I should just probably cancel it at this point because obviously we're dealing with something that was very devastating. And I took them anyways, and I pushed through, and I'm crying through the appointment and all that other stuff. But I think back on that day, almost a little over a year now, of when that would have been, and sitting in that evaluation and him being eligible to enter like the speech delayed program. It wasn't the very intensive, and they kept on saying like, we don't understand. They're like, there's some really strong areas because he's like super bright and can read and all these great things, but then there's some other areas where they're kind of confused with. And instead of being resistant to that, right, and saying like, I want to see him a certain light and this is what I had in mind, I released that, left the control, and then said to myself, okay, I'm gonna go along with this, God. I trust you, I believe you. And when he got into the program that he got into, when I say it's been like night and day from where he was at his old school to where he is now, and just getting him the proper tools and resources to now set him up on the right path. And so it just really taught me like, it's not gonna go any quicker than what God already designed it for it to do, and what path he's going to. Yeah, I had to just trust that. So.
And speaking of even the trust, because I know that we're running out of time, and I really want to somehow.
No, we're not.
Connect, because you're the boss. I really want to connect because people hear you talk about your faith all the time, and I want to kind of go to a time where I personally saw the light leave your eyes in a moment where your faith really took a blow. When we were going through our experience and our journey with Dad, you were steadfast in your faith. It was almost like you were so committed to the prophecy that was given to you by someone, and what you believe God would do and what he could have done if he wanted to, but his will was otherwise. But you were committed to that at that time. And I remember, I will never forget it. I can close my eyes and see you walking into the hospital room. Oh gosh, I have to be a professional. I remember you walking into the hospital room, and like my eyes could not leave you because I wanted to be ready to comfort you when I knew the reality of what had just happened would hit you. And I remember the disbelief. I just remember you being like, what? No, like what? It was just like unreal. How are you able to recover in your faith after having such strong faith? How did you not go down the path of being mad at God, or, what he told me was true, it just didn't pan out the way I thought it did,
Yeah.
I want to touch on that a little.
That is so good, and such very observant, I would say, for you, because when I walked into that hospital room, again, I think it's even hard to even formulate the words in this moment, because I did not accept reality until reality hit. And it felt like I was really confused. I was confused as to, but God, you promised a miracle. I was believing you for a miracle. My daddy believed you so hard. And I remember thinking like, I'm rocking with you, Daddy. If you believe in this, I'm believing too. And what God revealed to me after the fact is that I kept saying like, God, it's your way, right? I accept your way. But in reality, I wasn't accepting Yahweh. I was accepting my way and how I wanted to see things come about. So how did I recover from that hit? I think because God had prepared me, he prepared me without me knowing he was preparing me. All that work that I was doing in my closet before and that intimacy with him kind of just reassured this foundation. So when the storm did come, I would say my shutters or something might have flown off. But that core foundation of the house itself was solid. So it didn't require an entire rebuild.
Yeah.
All it required was a few repairs and fixing. And he also revealed to me that really my issue was probably more so dealing with prophetic words.
Yeah.
I struggled in the months afterwards with any type of prophet trying to say anything to me. I struggled with even sitting in the midst of it because it just felt like, God, I don't want to hear nothing.
Yeah.
I don't want to try to decipher who real and who not. Just keep the word away from me.
Keep walking past.
I don't want to hear nobody else tell me about what they seeing for me and what God told them to tell me.
Right.
And I think I was very resistant to that for a while. And then I realized that I had this moment in my car and I'm talking to God because I'm like, I don't want this to hinder what you and I have. And I found that it was this knock or this to my faith or this, something that was just kind of hindering me from tapping into what I know I enjoy with my relationship with God.
Yeah.
And I realized in that moment, I said, Lord, I'm gonna prophesy over my own life.
I know that's right.
Like I'm gonna take authority over my own
That's
situation.
right.
And I sat in that moment and I wrote, and I have it in my notes, and I started declaring all the things that I knew and I prophesied. And in that same moment, I wrote Mama, and I said, because I wanted to memorialize like how significant that particular moment for me was, because I don't think God wanted me to look at prophetic words from here on out and just disregard it because a few people prophesied things that did not come to pass, right?
Yeah.
I don't think he wanted me to say altogether,
right,
prophets because he speaks through his prophets. But I think what he wanted me to realize in that moment is that you don't have to look to no other outside word to speak a word over your life and for this thing to come to pass. I'm gonna use you to do it for yourself.
And even in knowing the way, then I've always loved how you write in your diary, and your writing has been prophetic. Everything that you've written that you wanted to be, that you wanted to do, has come to pass. So I think that gift of prophecy over your own life kind of lies within you. And so as we close out, I know that one of the biggest things with daddy, it's dad, it sounds weird.
I know.
Don't do it again.
And you said my dad earlier.
Yeah,
and I wanted
daddy.
to say, huh?
Okay,
you mean
daddy. Okay.
Yeah, our dad.
Another thing is I know you strive so much to make him proud, right? Who is Chanae striving to make proud in this season?
God.
And
I know he deals with me on that too, because again, sometimes he has to remind me, and I'll feel the Holy Spirit speak to me like, you're enough. I gotta be pulled back to that, because there's nothing you can do, Chanae, that's gonna make me love you more than what I love you right now. But I do think that it brings me joy the same way that I had such a great relationship and still do with my earthly father, that is my spiritual father. I feel that same way, right?
I always say it was a holy exchange. I felt like I swapped out this amazing relationship with my earthly father for an even more relationship with my heavenly father. I miss him in the physical and I love him, but we got it. So before we wrap it up, let's see what you rocking today, girl, because I mean, the ROM 8 gear is ramen, okay? I had to put on my own.
Yes, put a shirt on like people
ROM 8, shine, I got to get the whole wardrobe in my closet.
In the back.
I can do all things in the back.
Yes.
The Micah's action is there, so I can't wait till your line drops so I can flood my closet with the gear. But I am so proud of you. I am honored to sit across in your big and comfy chair. I can get comfortable here, y'all. But I'm gonna let the production team go because I have so much I would love to touch, and hopefully at a later date we can kind of get into a few other things. But keep striving. You're doing an amazing job. You make me proud every day to be your big sister, and I hope that God continues to just elevate you and continue to do all the things.
Yes, and let me just tell this one story because I know we talked about it earlier about the nightmares that I had.
Oh yeah,
but
yeah.
You used to hold me in that bed every single time I came, and you just knew. It wasn't even like I had to say nothing.
Yeah.
And I always tell you this because when it comes down to siblings relationships, like there are some things that you necessarily, like your parents could be for you, but there's other things that your siblings are to you. And I just feel like that moment for me will never, I always remember it. I'll never forget it because it brought me so much comfort. And so I feel that same comfort with this interview. And I guess that's why I told you, like, I had no concerns about what we was going to talk about because I trust you. And so,
y'all, she's so petty. She's trying to make me cry because I made her cry earlier. I spared you today, okay? But absolutely, well, I love you. And thank you guys for joining All the Things with Chanae Lavette, but you know, the sister takeover. See you guys next time.